Welcome to Club Domingo, brought to you by Cyclone Comics.
How smooth was that?
That was the smoothest. I wasn't even watching because I was still looking at the tabs. I was looking I'm going, when are we on? We're on already.
We're on already.
Good morning, Gary.
Hey, this is going to be a big change.
What?
This is our 76th show.
Incredible.
I've got myself
Awesome.
a heated mug to celebrate. And I took a sip earlier before we pressed record, and I've burnt my mouth because
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever brand you get, like I got a Decor, you got a Yeti. I made a cup of tea the other week.
Bloody hell, that's hot. Huh?
And put the lid on, and then Anne-Marie and I went out for an hour or so to go somewhere. We had an appointment or something. And when I got home, it was still too hot to drink. It was amazing. So,
Yeah.
I had to do it. I was throwing tea away.
So we're sponsored by Yeti.
Yeah, and Decor.
And Decor, yes. So I'm going to have another sip. Oh, man, my mouth is burnt already.
Oh, no. Very cool, though. I had to, I kept on looking until I found one with a handle. I really needed a handle.
Right. Okay.
And I kept on looking until I found one that was like 350 mils, but not big and tall, because I would just knock it over if it was big and tall and on my desk. So,
and you haven't had a handle on things for very. What am I trying to say? Anyway.
Yeah, no. That is exactly what you said, Gary.
Yeah.
Exactly
Tim doesn't have a handle on things, but he does on his tea mug. Yes.
Yes, at least I've got a handle on my tea mug.
So what's going on? How you been?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I've been fine. Been fine. I've been putting the finishing touches on a new back end of the Australian Comics database. So that's gone live. Chiseling away and just hoping all of my WordPress coding hangs together. So
okay, so I haven't checked it out yet. You texted me that the other day. So what do you mean a new back end on the database? Tell the kiddies at home, because I gave away so many business cards over the weekend for the show. So hopefully there's new kiddies out there.
And there is, because a little bit of a segue before we move on from that. The YouTube show, the channel where we live, is up to 96 subscribers. We're 4 short of 100 subscribers for the show. So with you handing out all those cards everywhere, we're bound to get 4 more subscribers in short succession.
Exactly. Any day now, any moment now.
Yeah. So anyway, what I've been working on.
When we get 100, do we get a prize?
Do we get a prize?
Yeah. Do you get a prize?
I don't know. Let's find out when we hit 100.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Okay. So what I've been doing is trying to upgrade the database, which I'll screen share shortly, to allow for people to register and to upload their own entries, their own Australian comics to the database. Yeah. So I've been... yes.
So the database
is the Australian Comic Book Database. And it's a website that shows entries, covers, and interior information for comics. I'm kind of generally aiming for the 1970s to current. So I don't want to go too far back in time, because that's the remit of the Oz Reprints site that does an amazing job on the older comics, the collectibles. Yep. So and I just wanted this flowed from a desire to use the ledgers as a reason to be able to list the long list of all the comics that we could capture and put on a database. So
the ledgers being the Ledger Awards, the Australian the Comic Arts of Australia Awards.
That's right. And we've kind of, because we're not involved anymore, the database has kind of become a separate thing to the cars now. So the database is like a freestanding entity, which doesn't fully rely on the awards to get access to submissions of all the comics that have been published across the year. So I thought it was important.
That's australiancomicsdb.com.au.
Yes. So I might see if I can share it, and I'll talk as we go. Share.
It's a great thing to start with today. Awesome.
Safari.
Here we go.
This is the site as you see it if you would log on to australiancomicsdb.com.au.
What an awesome range right there. That's all like very random, isn't it? What you get on
That's
the first.
yeah, yep. You can view entries in a random selection, which is what the default is when you come to the site. The latest entries that have been entered by anyone who's registered and can upload their titles, or an A to Z option, which is pretty boring because I like the random selection. So, but it's there if you know you're close to the bottom or the top of the alphabet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
so this is what people see, but now I've added a registration button where people can register for the site. It's pretty standard. And when you log in, I've already created a membership for Club Domingo. And
Password 1234. Very good.
okay. So I've logged in now, and the registration thing has been removed, but there's a new element here on the menu, submit a project, how this site works, and edit your own entries once they're uploaded. So when you submit a project, you get a form to fill out here, which is all fairly straightforward. Issue, pages, year published. If you've got an ISBN and ISSN, country of publication, it defaults to Australia, but you can overstrike that to be any country that's relevant. Publisher, format, content rating, genre, key characters. And if there's more than one key character, you can add more here or remove them as you go. And then the important bit down here is the contents of the issue, that you don't have to fill this in, but it is good to have if it's an anthology or if there's a story title with different creators involved, you can
Absolutely.
list a story title. There's all the different things there that if there's nothing blank in this area, it won't get listed. So writer artist is the default, but you've got writer, plot, script, artist, all that different kind of stuff there. That's for one title. And if you want to add another one story, if you want to add another, there's a button down there, or you can remove it. So that's a repeated field. So if you've got an anthology of, say, 10 stories, you can do this 10 times and get the credits right, and that will be in the listing as well. Then you
Very
can
cool.
upload a cover no wider than 600 pixels and no larger than 1 meg, because I don't want the website, the hosting to blow out with oversized files. Cover credit if you know it. Then there is an option for adding extra covers, the variants. Again, you can add multiple variants if you want with the cover artist known there. You can list the awards, and then there's a notes area for if there's anything interesting that you'd like to mention, or if you don't know all the details and you just want to put in a general paragraph down there, and you can either save the entry as a draft, or you can go back and edit the published entry and fill it out as an ongoing basis when you get more information. So the important thing is to get the essential titles, title, issue date, and a cover, and the rest can come afterwards.
Awesome.
Then you can either make a draft or make it ready for publishing, and then you submit, and it goes to me to get approved. I'll just run through it to make sure that technically it has all the fields that's needed to go live, and then I'll approve it. You'll get an email to say your entry has been approved, and it goes live on the database. And that way, in the future, you can then go to edit your entries. And this is a dummy one that I prepared earlier, just a club test. And you can see there that I've made it in draft, but you can also edit it or delete it from this page here, which should list all of your entries if you have multiple entries as well. Then you can go back into edit the comic. That's just a test one. I've put in a story called The Origin there of 12 pages, originally published in Cyclone #1. Yes, it was a reprint, so you can nominate that as well, whether it's a reprint and where it was reprinted. Up here as well is worth mentioning, in the format, if it's webcomic online only, you put the website URL there in as well.
Awesome.
If it's a short story, where is the short story thing there? You can nominate that, and you put the story where it was published and what magazine it was in case it was, if you are a single Australian story inside an American anthology, you can nominate what the title was.
That's very cool.
So
You know what? I need a business card with a QR code on it for this to take to every convention I go to. So I can just hand it to all of the makers and say, we need this site populated. People use it for study, for arts grants, for all sorts of things. let's get this thing populated. It's so easy now.
Well, Danny Best is on the road. He's got this idea that I think you and he talked about many moons ago.
Yeah.
He's hitting the road. We've got a banner made. He's going to the Make show in Victoria, in Melbourne, in a couple of months' time, and he's setting up shop there with a scanner and his laptop, and he's going to be able to help people post their stuff online if they can't do it or don't want to do it. So Danny Best is on the road doing exactly what you suggest. So
Fantastic. Yeah, we chatted about that. That's great. So he's going to do it in situ. Amazing.
that's right.
Um,
So
but Danny can't be everywhere. Like from moving across from Adelaide to Melbourne once a year is probably quite doable. But like I'm going up to Brisbane this weekend. Obviously, it's going to be too late for that. But in Sydney to give away those business cards would be great. So yeah, maybe I'll wait until the next sale is on at Vistaprint, or if the kiddies at home have a better place to make cheap business cards, let me know, and I'll get some made. Similar to what I did with the Club Domingo cards.
yeah.
Um, so
So
yeah, that would be great.
it's
Let's get
open
it
for
done.
registration now, but I don't particularly. I'm a bit scared because I don't want to get slammed with new registrations that'll sort of break the site or anything. So I'm a little bit in what is it, beta mode at the moment. So
Yeah,
when this goes live, this is the first announcement. I've sort of told Danny to hold off mentioning it on the socials or anything like that. But when this goes live, then it'll be open for the people to register and get their stuff on there if they don't want to talk to Danny at conventions and do it that way. So there's a couple of
yeah,
options there for posting this stuff.
very cool.
There's
I just
about
love the fact that every time you go back to the front page and it's like such a broad range of stuff from like the 80s and the 90s and right now, and the color and black and white and minis and full American edition. Like it's so cool.
yeah, it's an amazing resource. So we want to keep it going without too much hassle maintaining it. So when you register for the first time, the registration will need to be approved by an admin, and any entries after that will be approved as well, just to make sure that we're not getting hacked and that the information is good when it goes live. And that if you want to claim what's already up there, because there's just under 2,000 entries already on the site. So if you want to go on there and say claim all the greener pastures entries, just let us know, and I can assign you to look after your own entries if you want to update the entry and add more information to it, or change the scan to a better quality one, or anything like
Gotcha.
that. So there's that option as well. But that will need to be, you'll need to drop us a line to say, hey, can I, I'm responsible for this title, and this title, and it's already on the database. I would go in there in the back end and assign it to them once they've been approved, and they can then be the caretaker of that entry.
Yeah, cool. Great idea.
So yeah, and it's great. I spend not hours, but lots of fun just redoing the front page to see what the random search will come up with. And there's so much
Yeah.
great stuff right across the board. It's just brilliant.
And every time you do it, there's stuff there that I've never seen before. It's great.
There's always something there that a few entries, random selection again. We could do the whole show just doing this stuff. Digested. What a great comic that was.
It was amazing.
And also,
Gorilla My Dreams. I just spent the weekend with Big Tim Styles in Canberra.
right, yeah. The remit of the site is also to include stuff from overseas. If you just need to be Australian, or an Australian publication, or an Australian creator. So if you've done work for overseas companies, that's still valid to post on this site as well. So
Yeah, and you're pretty you're pretty flexible with that as well. Like
yeah,
if it seems to have an Australian connection creatively, then that's enough.
yeah, like it's
Automatic Kafka, I think that's the
Ashley Wood
Ashley Wood
one.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's getting a reboot, or they're doing it again soon. I think that was a big deal a little while ago. They announced that.
Right, right. Well, for example, here's a good example, Magnus Robot Fighter.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's not a 600 pixel scan. Usually we fit it up this area, but it was written by Dave DeVries and a lot of other American or international um, uh, creators involved. But because Dave was the writer, it deserves to be on the database, and the country of publication was just marked as United States. So
Yeah.
it's pretty comprehensive.
There was who was the inker that did a lot of stuff for Valiant, the Australian inker? John was
John
Dixon,
Dixon.
wasn't it? John
Yeah,
Dixon.
yeah,
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Dixon.
So
Yeah,
Dixon did a lot of stuff for Valiant back then as well.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Future Force is another Valiant one. Yeah, Dave did a lot of work for them at the time, a lot of writing.
Yeah.
So
Oh, look
yeah,
at that amazing Zero Assassin cover by Matt Hatton. Ooh, that was so cool. Yes.
1994.
Jeepers. Digital work as well. That was cutting edge. Somebody doing a 100% digital painting. There wasn't a lot of it happening back then.
And so with the contents of a given issue, this is how it looks on the database as well. Just individual stories and the writers and creators involved in different chores.
And you've got a little thing there to share on socials. Is
Yeah,
it possible to expand that so it's not just on X, that there are other places
yeah.
that you
I
can share it?
need to update that. Yeah, there are little tweaks that I need to make. I was just trying to get the major stuff looked after so that people can start uploading stuff. But yeah, little tweaks. So if you've got suggestions or ideas, feel free once you're having a look around the site to drop us a line if there's any serious or little tweaks that would be fun to have without creating too much work for me.
Because
Yeah,
we need comics out of you. That's why.
that's right. Yes. But yeah, so much good stuff. I mean, who's this Samuel McEwen? What a loser. God. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Silver Fox, that's not the publishing company, that's the actual comic. Had a lot of potential. I really like the look of that.
My God, yes, I remember that. That was amazing. Who are the creators there? Darren Dare, is that his real
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Carlos Trigo, Hannah Templar, and Taylor Esposito.
Now, I don't know whether there was any further issues made, but they also sold it as a PDF, so you can access the PDF here, which will probably bounce out of the site, which I'm not going to do. So,
Yeah.
so the detailed form is quite generic, but it also gives enough detail without being too hard a chore. And not all of them need to be put in straight away. It's the important stuff first. Then you can go back and add to the contents as you see fit when you got time. So it's not a chore to add entries.
Yeah.
And the
Awesome
views are
stuff.
getting up there, as well. As I said, we've got just under 2,000 entries online already, and yeah, they get looked at a lot. So the internet's doing its thing. So it's not as if it's a dud corner of the internet. So
Yeah. So
okay.
is that the views on that particular piece or the
On,
views?
on Silver Fox #1 on that entry.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So most of
All right.
the entries are already creeping up between 500 and 1,000 views, and then there are quite a swag of them over 1,000 quite easily. So
Yeah,
uh,
let's just check
yeah.
greener pastures because that's all I'm interested in. I'm going to
Oh,
Google myself and see how many views we're getting. 1,000. Hooray. Not all of them are at that stage, but number one
Green
is at 1,000.
pastures, search, and there they
Yeah,
all are there. Look at all that greener pastures goodness.
look at it all. Very cool. Wow, I can't that actually surprises me that people are looking at it that often. That's amazing.
And the most
Very
recent one
cool.
for you was this trade paperback collection, and we also already got
Yeah, brilliant.
the important thing for me is getting a nice scan, a nice JPEG scan or a PNG scan. This is a
Yeah,
nice one that's got nice quality behind it. Uh,
yeah. I
and
want to
then,
just output that directly from InDesign, so it's
yeah, yeah.
as perfect as it can get.
So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing.
That's really cool. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So get on it. It's official that you can register now. There are if
Get
you
amongst it.
There was a time a couple of years ago, probably 5 years ago now, where half a dozen people registered before it was closed off to become more associated with the Ledger Awards. Those memberships are still there. Like I think you registered many moons ago. So I know there's half a dozen or so people that are already registered that can go in and just get a new password or um, edit their entry straight away. But if you're new, feel free to hop on and register, and then you can start uploading stuff. And again, it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be necessarily your comics. It can be your collection if you've got a collection of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Um,
There was a point where uh, I've got my own database here at home that I haven't added to for years and years now, but everything that I had in there from Australians, I just output as a spreadsheet and mailed it to Danny Best, and said, "Here's information on all of this stuff if you want to put it in." So I think like that helped a lot. There might have been, I don't think it was 1,000, but it might have been like a few hundred
Yeah. Did you have
different Australian
covers as
comics.
well, or was it just a text list?
Uh, I can't remember if I gave him the covers. The database I use includes covers, but they're probably a little bit too low res for what you wanted. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hand all that information over. Like I don't need to hold it to me only. So yeah, if you've already got a database, and I know there are people out there with the same kind of crazy brain space as me and like databases for that kind of collection. So that even that, if you contact, I guess you or Danny Best and say, I've got this database of my whole collection. Do you want it? And you can use it to put in stuff that's not already up in there. So that would be cool.
The point of the exercise, though, is to defray work by me or Danny to a certain extent as
Well,
well,
yes,
and
totally.
allow
Yeah,
people to upload and drive their own bus, their own comic book
true.
bus.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do it. I'll quite happily do it if you can't upload it yourself or you don't have access to a computer and all that kind of stuff. Just contact me and I'll be able to help out. But the name of the game is to be able to upload your own stuff or your own collection and look after it
Yeah,
yourself so that it's as accurate and as shiny as possible.
yeah. Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Um,
congrats on getting that refixed. I believe it was like needed quite a bit of
yeah.
hammers and nails and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it took a fair bit, and there's still a little bit to do. But I put what I've got to do now down to tweaks and not anything else. But yeah, it
yeah,
was a bit of a major overhaul. So hopefully it all
very
sticks
cool.
together and it doesn't fall over when someone tries to register. You know, but
All right.
I've
Well, we'll
gone through all the
see.
tests and all. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
My main
very good.
concern with the WordPress database was to protect the information and protect the site from robots and from spam,
Yeah,
and because that is a lot of time to dedicate to keep the site clean and to assess what is a dud user and what is a real
yeah,
user, a real human being. So I spent
yeah,
a lot of time trying to protect the registration process. So hopefully that'll stick and the site won't be compromised.
yeah. Very cool.
Mm.
Cool. And I hope it doesn't take up too much more of your time. Because what do we need? We need more pages more often.
Yes, and this was something that was sitting on my shoulders and needed to get done and out the way,
Yeah,
and now it's done and out the way. So
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind doing tweaks, but major overhauls are the thing that I was trying to avoid. So it is what it is.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you know, or maybe this is not a question we should be asking on air, do you know if it's still being utilized by the Comic Arts Awards of Australia? Is it still utilized for the long list?
No, they're two separate things. There's a
Right,
submission process on the Comic Arts Australia website, which is separate to the database. So there was
right,
never
okay. Got
this
it.
database was never used as a long list
Right, got it.
recipient format. There was a different list that was formulated for the awards. So they
Okay.
were two separate things. The plan
Yeah.
was
I think
originally that
in my password holder, I think I've got it listed as Ledger's long list. So I should change that so that I'm not
yeah,
confused like that. And
the plan was to have the submissions for the cars align with the submissions for the database, but it never happened
yeah,
because time passed and you and I both left. But that was the original plan. But now they're two separate
gotcha.
things. So
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Cool.
be careful about that. If you're submitting to this database, you are not submitting to the awards. There, it's a
Yeah.
separate animal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's clear. Very clear now. Cool. All right. Well done.
Do you want to tell us a bit about what happened on the weekend for you? A bit of a
Yeah. Boy, that was week two out of five conventions that I'm doing in a very short period in 6 weeks, conventions or appearances. So I did the Cockatoo Comics uh,
residency?
one day, yeah, one day residency, and then I've done uh, Oz Comic Con Canberra, which was really cool. We had a great time. Always grateful to Comic Con, Oz Comic Con for putting me up. Or giving me a table rather. That was very good of them, and I appreciate it. Saturday was was, I mean, every day is fun, right? Because we're sitting with great people. I had Christoph on one side, and I had Noah on the other. Both great people doing great comic work. Noah, I've spoken about before, and Noah hasn't done a lot of comics, but he really wants to. And he showed me what they're about to release, and it's really nice, very beautiful, like romantic
Mm.
story.
There's a lot of
Um,
good stuff floating around the scene at the moment that is almost ready. Like it
yeah,
seems like 2027 is going to be a mighty year. If they all get released tail end of
yeah,
26, 27, there's going to be
yeah.
some amazing graphic novels and comics coming out.
So to change the subject slightly, I'm going to be at Comic Street in Brisbane next weekend, and Noah's going to be there, and I'm pretty sure that he said that he's going to bring a printed copy of it. I think as a ashcan sort of thing. I don't know if he's selling them or just showing it. But I looked at it on his phone, and it looks beautiful. And he said he's bringing it to Brisbane. So hopefully there's a printed copy because that's what I want.
Right.
Um, so yeah. So
And
yeah, it's
do,
so
do you know
so
whether
Ozcomic.
the nature of it is it a graphic novel or is it a comic series?
I'm not. No, I'm not actually sure
Right.
if it's an ongoing thing or a going to be trying to be like a graphic novel in its own right or one of a series of graphic novels.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very beautiful. It's like two magicians, and it's like oldie worldy, like maybe 1920s or something set
Nice.
in that
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So it's, really appealing looking men in beautiful tuxedos. And so, yeah, so really, I can't wait
Great
to.
Gatsby vibe.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't seen Noah Dow's art, just look him up. Noah is Noah, and Doa is Doa. Very much worth looking up. So yeah, I sat between Christoph, who's kicking goals, with him trying to be a full-time comics writer, and Noah. So that was cool. Down the other end was Big Tim Styles. I'm so glad he got a position on guest row, whatever you want to call it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Gary Proudly, a few people up. There were other people there as well. I'm not going to try to name everybody. But it was a good time. Saturday was a little bit slow for Greener Pastures sales wise, which, I bless Darren Close. He kind of checked in and said, "How's it going there?" And I said to him that I get disheartened pretty quickly when we have a slow day, or if I'm worried that the show's not going to be big. I go, "Why am I doing here?" Blah blah blah. But Sunday was really good. We did really good sales, and that more than made up for a middling Saturday. And overall, the
Usually the
sales
other
were.
way around.
I know, exactly. I think on Sunday I had people coming back who talked to us on Saturday and said, "I'll be back," and I go, "That would be great," and like not really expecting them to come back, but they came back. And or I had previous fans, previous buyers come back. I had a guy named Chris who bought quite a bit the last time we met. And I went, "Oh, I remember you. What was your name?" I was Chris. And I said, "Yeah. So did you enjoy it?" He said, "Yeah, I'm here to buy the rest." So like he bought everything else he could on the table. It was really cool. I think we had at least two people from back in the day who would which I love seeing, do a rubberneck, walk by and go, "What? Is this still here?" And then go, I can't remember what I've got or where it is, so I'll just buy everything. And the thing about that, and I turn to Anne Marie and I say it to her, the thing about that is I go, "See, it's a really good story. People from 20 years ago go, I really enjoyed reading that and I'm going to buy it all again. Oh my God, you've got new stuff. This is incredible." So it's just that matter of getting it into people's hands. And I'm sure that we'll make most of these people fans for life. So a few people like that. And those kind of people even bought copies of Adventure Illustrated #2, which I don't have any AI ones anymore. And I've only got AI 2 blank covers now. I sold the last printed cover. I sold the last one of those uh, on Saturday, I think, or maybe it was Sunday. That there,
Yeah.
I
Nice.
sold the last one of those. All I've got left are my file copies, but I've still got quite a few blank covers. And people said, "Well, I guess I'll get the blank cover," which was really cool. One person got um, a pretty quick sketch, not a full proper sketch cover, but I did a sketch cover on it, which was cool. Because the other thing that they do when they come back, like on Saturday, he said, "Oh, I met you at, I don't know, an OzCon or something or other back in the day." And then he comes back the next day with the photo of the terrible sketch that I did for him because I was just like pumping out,
Yeah.
30-second sketches and they're just terrible. So I said, man, if you want to buy one of these sketch cover ones, I'll do you not a full $90 sketch, but I'll do you a free sketch on there because I don't want you to keep looking at that terrible 30-year-old sketch. I want you to have a better one. So I did that for him. And so, yeah, we had a couple of quite big sales. The other thing that was interesting was, I think on Saturday, people really love the pitch. When they ask what the comic is, or actually half the time they don't ask, I just tell them what the comic is. But they don't want to invest the $30 in the trade paperback. So a lot of people were still buying the $10 set from 5, 6, 7, and 7.5. They get that for $10. So I was still kind of selling quite a few of those on the Saturday. But on the Sunday, people were willing to spend a little bit more money.
Yeah.
It was
Nice.
really cool. I had one guy who I recognized him and his mates from previous Oz Comic Con Canberras and Geek Expo or Geek Market Canberras. The group of guys who I know are mates and are pretty loud, but really like boisterous, good fun on the floor. You can tell when they walk by. And one of them, kind of did a rubberneck as well. And I said, "Come on over, you want to." And he said, "I do want to." And I said, "Have you ever bought this? Because I know I've seen you around." And he said, "I never have." And I said, "Well, maybe today's the day." Um, and he said, "Well," and I gave him the pitch, the spiel, uh, and I could tell he didn't want to spend $30. And I've still got like copies of 4.5 for $2. So I say you can get that for two, or these ones for three, 5, 6, or 7, they're still $3 each, and blah blah blah. And he said, uh, I'll get the $2 one." And I went, "Okay." I said, "These are only $3." I said, "And these two make a 5 and 6, make a good double feature." I said, "You could get like, that's like 60 pages for $6." He went, "Okay, I'll spend the $6." And I said, "Okay, would you like me to sign it for you?" And he said, "Yeah." "What's your name?" He said, "Caesar." And Emery and I both look at each other and I go, "Caesar. Caesar is one of the three main characters in this book." He's going, "Oh, that's fun. That's cool." I said, "But he's not in either of these two." He went, "What?" I
Oh,
said, "He's not in either of those two copies." And I gave him a copy of number 8 for $10. I said, "He's in this one. And I'm not trying to sell you this, but have a look." And he's Caesar in his toga, very much being Caesar. And he's going, "That's just too good. How much is this for?" I said, $10. He said, "I'll take that one." So we went from 2 to 6 to 10, with that kind of really fun kind of back and forth with that guy. It's not like he felt like he was being taken advantage of. It was really good fun. So I think that was
ah,
good in the end.
yes.
So yeah, that was the kind of weekend. It was great fun. Um, and we had dinner on the Saturday night. Not everybody could make it. A lot of people were like staying with friends in Canberra, so were socializing with them that night, or had other groups that they wanted to hang out with from the convention, other Artist Alley people and whatnot. But a few of us had dinner, which was really cool, including Mal Briggs from Impact Comics, who
I was
wasn't
about
even
to
at the
ask.
show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really lovely. We impinged on his family movie night, but they just pushed that back a little bit to come and have a quick dinner with us. But the really cool thing about that dinner, and it was really cool to hang out with Marcelo and Julie Dietrich, and Mel Briggs. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. The other person who came was a guy called Nicholas Martin, and on the internet he goes under Nicholas Martin or Nicholas Yann or Nicholas Yann Martin. I just kind of looked him up to see, yeah, Nicholas Yann Martin. So Nicolas, Yann is Yn, Yann, and Martin, and he's from Noumea, and he said, Oh, Tim, I see you're in Canberra. I'm actually in Canberra. Do you reckon we could have a cup of tea or a drink or a meal while you're in Canberra? Um, so Nicholas, I met, I don't know how long ago, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Um, he was visiting Australia with his family, his young family, and they were driving around Australia in a camper van. And he was in Sydney when the supernova was on. And this is back when I was still quite involved with supernova. And I uh, and he contacted the ACA and said, I can see there's a comic convention on, can I come? And the ACA contacted me and I organized for him to have an artist alley table, which was very cool. He was very appreciative, got this table, sold his French language and English language comics. His work is really beautiful. And although it's French language and has a bit of a European bent. It's also like it's from Noumea. He's from Noumea, so it's like quite different to what you might find from Belgium or France or whatever. And we've kind of kept in contact little by little, or, a little bit over the years. And then Amory and I were on a cruise that was stopping in Noumea, and I contacted him and said, "We're going to be in your hometown. Are you around for a meal or a coffee?" And he said, "Oh, I'm taking the day off work, and we're driving around the whole island. I'm showing you everything." And we had such a great time with him. Such a beautiful man, has a lovely family, a partner and two kids. Really, really lovely. Um, and that was a great day. We had wine and cheese for lunch at his flat. He bought the wine and cheese on the day. We went to the local supermarket, and the cheese section was nearly as big as my entire local supermarket.
Oh, wow.
Just the cheese section. It's so important to the French culture. And then he was making sure he bought wine that would go with that kind of cheese and stuff. It was amazing day. Um, uh, so yeah, so we've kind of kept in contact a little bit, but then he said he was in Canberra, and I'll tell you all about that in a minute. So he contacted me to say he was in Canberra. So of course I invited him to dinner, and that was really great to have him meet some people, especially Mal, being the local comic shop, so he knows where to get his comics now. But it turns out his wife, when we met in Noumea, had not great English language skills, um, and he said, but since then she studied really hard and has gotten the highest level of competency in English that you can get, and is now out here teaching French to French language and English language kids at the local French school, teaching French and history. So they've moved here for 2 years, which is great. And he seems like a very nomadic person because they did that whole thing where they drove around all of Australia, the whole four of them. So yes, keep an eye out for Nicholas at conventions, I reckon.
Yeah, cool.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Lovely man. He um he makes a living as an illustrator full time. He does comics. I don't know how many comics he's doing lately, but he's done quite a bit of comics in the past and is quite well known in New Caledonia for it. But his main work is as an editorial cartoonist, but not for print, for the nightly news. So every morning he sits in the editorial meeting and it comes up with a few ideas and then sends it off to the editor, and then they say yes or no, and then he puts together some editorial cartoons. So it's all very quick, like editorial cartooning is. And he said, and now he's added a new wrinkle to it by doing limited animation as part of it as well. So, but he can do that from anywhere. So he's doing it here in Australia for the French language television in Noumea. So yeah. So hopefully we'll see him at a few
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was very cool to hang out with again. Really lovely man. Um, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else from OCC Canberra, Oz Comic Con Canberra. I think it was probably most of the stories um, from there. But like I said, next weekend I'm going to be at Comic Street in Brisbane, celebrating their 10th anniversary of doing Comic Street, which is incredible. Such a
It's up and going for
um,
10 already.
Yeah, it's just it's wild. I can't believe that that's the case. Incredible. Um, and then the weekend after that, I'll be in Wagga Wagga with Geek Expo, which should be really cool. I'm looking forward to that as well. And then the week off, and then the weekend after that is Oz Comic Con Sydney, um,
Wow.
and uh, and then That's all I'm really kind of announced so far. Um, but we were talking, so kiddies at home, like a little bit of a change of gear here. Um, we were talking, you and I, before we got online, about the comic book exhibition or the comics art exhibition that's going to be happening in Rockhampton in November of this year. So I'm definitely going to that as well. So if you're in that kind of area in November for the opening of the exhibition, I'll be at that as well. I'll give a little talk on the Saturday. They call it an artist talk or a floor talk, where the artists who are in town just talk about the work on the walls. But that sounds live because I just was speaking to Shanna, who's helping curate that, and that's at the Rockhampton Museum of Art. So don't look up Rockhampton Gallery. That's a completely different thing. That's a private concern. The Rockhampton Museum of Art is a government gallery, and it's really lovely. I've been there twice when I've been up for Capricorn and other things, and really love it up there. Um, and they're putting together a really wide-ranging, art-oriented exhibition of comics. So people like me, who's very traditional work. On paper. I think they're looking at web stuff as well. They're interested in the fact that I made a short live action film, but they're also involving, um, I don't know whether you call them fine artists or gallery artists, that kind of art that has an influence from comics. Or the artists work in both media. So there's going to be a really cool, interesting range. I'm trying to talk them into taking. I don't have a lot of collection of comic book art because it's a slippery slope and extremely expensive. But at one point, I actually bought a couple of George Perez pages and a Dylan Horrocks page, and I'm wondering whether or not they're interested in showing that as well. So it's obviously going to have an Australian bias, but I think they're really interested in seeing other stuff as well. So the opening for that, let me bring it up on my calendar. The opening for that is Friday night, the 6th of November this year. And then on the Saturday, we'll be doing a brief talk on the floor as well. All of this will be announced more um, uh, officially from the Rockhampton Museum of Art soon. Shanna said that they've just got a couple of exhibitions that they're waiting for that to kind of push through, and then very soon they'll be pushing the marketing on this instead. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was very exciting to speak to Shanna and know that I'm definitely locked in for that, and I'll be there on that weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Um, Based on last week's show, where we talked about the different awards that are coming out and have circulated around, like the Reverie Awards and the ACCAs and things like that, we got
Yes.
a good bit of feedback from Danny Nolan, who kindly sent an email to us, just wanting to clarify some points that he made on a Facebook thread about the Reverie Awards. So I figured it would be appropriate to read that out, just to let Danny have his clarification email.
Yeah, I think it's great that we have a conversation here. That if we say things or we read out things and people want to add to the conversation or clarify stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have
Have
at
you,
it. So I'm so glad that Danny wrote to us.
yeah, have you got it in front of you? You want to give?
I do.
Yeah, do you want to read it? Because my throat is starting to go a bit parched. So,
Yeah, yeah. So this is from Danny Nolan. Hi guys, I just wanted to clarify my comment regarding a Kickstarter award included in the Emerging Reverie Awards. Firstly, the ACCAs are their own award and don't need to be duplicated for one category. I guess he means in the Reveries.
yeah, that's right.
So I think that's what he was trying to clarify there a little bit.
Yeah,
To be clearer and elaborate, I was referring to financing an Aussie indie book. For example, if a book like Neverlanders has complete Aussie team and is published by the Australian arm of Penguin Books, but then printed in China, I don't know. I don't see how that differs from an Aussie indie being totally created and printed in Australia, but may have an international funding campaign. Not that I'm critical of this, it just highlights the lines that have been drawn regarding an award that promotes totally, in inverted commas, Australian comics, especially when digital is also not included, something local creators embrace due to the cost constraints.
yep, very important.
So I think Danny Nolan there is referring to what looks like the in-process guidelines that are being developed for the Reverie Awards, where 100% Australian meant also being printed in Australia, not just being published or created by, but also printed in Australia. So Danny, I think, is a great thing here, is trying to get clarification on is that really the line in the sand that we're drawing here. Um, it is also hard for publishers like Nat Carmichael's Comic Oz to have no choice but to go overseas for the printing, as it's nearly impossible to get his huge hardcover tomes printed or rather published reasonably in this country. I believe you guys most sincerely when you say how hard a time you had setting up the ledgers and having to appease everyone. Saying this, I believe the Reverie Awards are a fantastic idea and are a way for the indie comic scene to improve itself by being challenged, and a great stepping stone for future creators and self-publishers. And as these creative teams improve and move on to bigger things and better contacts in their art sphere, they can then submit to the cars as well, even though they could not do that before.
They could do that
but this
before.
time,
Even
I know,
though
let's get that. Yeah, we'll clarify that in a second. But this time with a lot more confidence. I wouldn't mind one of those Ken Oath Bear trophies either. Yours sincerely, Danny Nolan.
Great email.
So Danny's referring to the great little trophy that it looks like the Reverie Awards are creating, which are based on a cartoon of Ken Oath, which was a koala bear from back in the early Reverie days.
By Paul Harris?
By Paul Harris. Fantastic. We couldn't remember who the creator was last time. Paul Harris, one of the best cartoonists ever in this country. I loved his work so much back in the Reverie days. Yeah. So to clarify something that Danny said there about not being able, certain cartoonists not being able to submit for the CARS, the Comic Arts Awards of Australia, also known as the Ledger Awards, the Ledgers. The way that Gary and I created the ledgers was that it was 100% open to everybody with any Australian content. If it was a writer from Australia and everybody else was American, it didn't matter. If you were making a mini comic and there were only 20 copies printed off a photocopier, you were just as eligible as Neverlanders would have been eligible. So at all times, everybody's comic was always eligible, and we went out of our way to try to make it known. Please submit your comic, and often mini comics were the things that won. I remember the one about the Rainbow Bridge for dogs that pass away. That was just a mini comic. And it's just beautiful, and people cry every time they read it. And it was like 8 pages long or 12 pages long, something like that. So we tried to make that playing field the most level it could ever be, and everybody was welcome to submit, and then it was up to the judges to decide what was exemplary to get onto the long list, the short list, and then to get a bronze, silver, or gold.
Yeah, so it was project driven, and the judges were asked to consider the aims of the creator. Whether the mini comic succeeded as a mini comic, or whether Neverlanders as a graphic novel has succeeded in its own level. So the projects were competing against themselves, not about any other projects, really.
Yeah. And there was no one award given, as in one gold or one silver, one bronze. If there were enough projects being agreed upon by all of the judges or most of the judges, then we could have given out 5 golds in a year if that was the case.
Yeah.
I always use that word exemplary. Like, is this actually an example of extraordinarily good comics? And if no, then it probably shouldn't be on the short list. If yes, then it should be on the short list and therefore get either a bronze, silver, or gold. No matter what the format or the page count or the quantity produced. And it was a battle for us, right? Every time to try to get that through to people.
There was the difficulty in understanding that a mini comic wasn't being judged against a graphic novel, like Neverlanders wasn't being judged against a web comic or a mini comic or anything like that. There was judging on its own ability to succeed with what it set out to do.
Exactly. So thanks so much for that, Danny Nolan. That was a very well considered email to help us
And
continue this conversation.
I'm sure we'll come back to these subjects as things unfold. And it's early days for the Reverie Awards yet, and yeah, they'll sort themselves out. They'll be fine.
Exactly, exactly.
Do you have anything else? I'm pretty much
Oh,
done on my short list here. Talking of short lists,
yeah, I wanted to quickly mention we brought up like the conventions and fairs that I'm going to. Scamp is open for submissions, so that's the Sydney Comics Festival. So if you look up Scamp on the internet, if you look up Cockatoo Comics anyway, you'll find the application for tabling at Scamp. I think that's still open. I feel like Make in Melbourne is probably closed now. But yeah, everybody should always apply for those things and try to get your comics out to the public at both the big conventions and also the festivals and at the zine fairs. So they're both open. And I meant to mention this last week. This I picked up at Cockatoo
oh
Comics
wow,
when I did my one-day residency. It's a Hepcats collection, which I don't have, and I tried to get everything Hepcats from back in the day.
is it
It's a
called
collection of comic.
the collegiate?
Yeah, the collegiate, and what that means is it's the one tier comic strips that Martin Wagner was drawing for his college newspaper on a daily basis
Wow.
back in the day, and that's where Hepcats got its start. Um, and
Yep.
there is another reprinting of these called Y-O, which is like a square format, which I really love. But it's buried in my collection somewhere. So when I saw that Siobhan had that at Cockatoo Comics, I bought that. I know that's American, it's not Australian, um, but yeah, Martin Wagner printed some Greener Pastures stuff in his Hepcats comic back in the day. So any chance I get to talk about
So
his wonderful
Siobhan
stuff.
sounds like she's got some interesting stuff at Cockatoo.
Oh my God, yeah. It's one of those shops where people are selling their interesting collection for her to on sell again. The shop, I reckon, I don't know, it's the same on her online store, which you can access from anywhere in the country. Seems to be maybe half and half secondhand and half new stuff. I don't know, maybe not quite half and half, but really interesting secondhand stuff on her shop. Um, I love it when I find an Australian comic that I've not heard of before, and not just not heard of it, but someone who's doing something quite interesting in the comics space. So uh, I saw that the Kapow comic book show, again Australian based or Australian made, but based in France now, by Nathaniel. The Kapow comic book show shared a reel or a story from a thing called Fair Bump, FAIRBUMP. And so I was watching this reel from Fair Bump, and as he said, I started a comic book club because I wanted you to get my comics. And I'm going, that's got an Australian accent. Who is this guy? What is this about? So I looked it up. Fairbump, I think, is mostly a clothing brand. Very slow, indie created. One guy does all the drawings, screen prints it himself, sells it at markets and online, but sells it at markets like a Bondi and stuff like that. And his name is Ryan Nicho. That's Nicho. But it's all very cartoony and comic book based. But he makes comics as well, mostly like one page kind of things, which have got what do you call it, a history as well. A lot of that Harvey comic sort of stuff, Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. A lot of that was very much like one page gags, almost like a Hostess Pies ad, but a one page story. There was lots of one page stories in those kind of comics, and I feel like he's doing a lot of that. I haven't read a lot of his stuff. I just had a look around online to see who he is and what he does. So these characters are on his clothes that he makes. He's very anti fast fashion and very anti fast entertainment. He wants to make things by hand and buy this really cool good quality stuff. He's very much quality over quantity. So his comic club is, I think it's $20 to get the package, or if you want to buy a year's worth, it's $90 for 6, which makes it only $15, including the postage. Then you get a one-page comic that he signs, and you get some stickers and some cloth patches, and a specific letter that he didn't show on the internet. He said this is only for club members. So you get a letter, and what else was in it? There was a few bits and pieces, and it was really nice. And very kind of handmade. Obviously, it's printed. Not everything is original, but it's not like you're getting original drawings, but they're all originally his work. So it seems really cool.
His approach is handmade, though. His aesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So look that up. Fair Bump. Have I got that still open here? Fair Bump, fairbump.com. And then you'll get
Cool.
his social medias and all of that as well. And again, it does feel like that kind of cartooning, that kind of hot stuff, Harvey Comics sort of cartooning. Really, really lovely work.
Nice. Nothing
So
wrong
I
with
loved,
that. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I loved stumbling upon that. And he says he's been drawing these characters since 2001. So it's been out there for a while in different ways, maybe just in his sketchbooks or I don't know what. But the fact that I only stumbled upon it 20 something years later is
Talk about
great.
talk about taking his time.
Yeah, well, taking my time before I stumble upon it. So it's all out there. So yeah, check him out. I think that's great. And we've talked about this on the show, like to quite a deep extent, the whole idea of doing a club, and how there was the mini comic of the month club, and how I'm considering maybe that would be good once I really get a rhythm of putting pages out, of doing a monthly club, and all that stuff. So it was really cool to see that somebody is doing a version of that. And you don't get a whole book, but you get a whole bunch of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're into Fair Bump and the clothes, etc., why would you not do it? So yeah, Ryan, Nicho, and Fair Bump.
One of these days we should do something with Club Domingo.
Oh, that would be really cool. I still want to make t-shirts and enamel pins, and so maybe one day.
And you want to do a cooking segment?
I'd love to do a cooking segment. It'll be get your bread, put it under the griller with a slice of cheese on
Time
top.
for tea and roast.
That's right. Welsh rabbit.
Yeah. Okay, so is that it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm going to do this quite naturally. What do we say to the kiddies?
We say more comics more often.